the purchases cycle. So you just have your notes on the purchases cycle and we'll see about the wages cycle. So just like this one, purchases cycle. I'm probably giving out the same as the sales one, I'd say. It would be a completely separate one, right? Yeah. When the last time, it was the night before that, I'd say gave them out. So you've got the sales cycle, the purchase cycle, and the wages and the payroll cycle. We looked through the sales one, but I must come back on that again. I just wanted to give the overall basics of all of them before we actually go into doing our internal controls and our substantive testing. Okay, so go on out from that and on again. Oh, there, yeah, there's the sales one there. So it's after that then. So it's the purchase one you need, yeah.
You know your notes so well.
Okay, so our purchase cycle. Okay, think about our purchases. Okay, in our purchase cycle, what are we looking at? Okay, so what's involved in actually doing purchases? So we have ordering, receipts, invoicing, and payments. Okay, and we're going to look at what can go wrong, what are the risks, what are the objectives, how can it be prevented, and what are the controls. Okay, so what can go wrong at each stage of this, and then how can it be prevented, and what are the controls. Okay, so ordering, what are the risks involved? So we've got order goods of poor quality and high price. Okay, so hopefully we won't be ordering goods of poor quality and high price. Okay, use recognised supplier list, tendering process and large items. Okay, normally you get 3 prices for everything. And you don't actually go with the cheapest one. But, you know, probably a lot of people do, but I mean, it might not be the best quality one. Goods ordered not required. Okay, so requisition should be approved. Okay, so you should have someone inside the purchasing department approving the items. Goods ordered and not received. So our control follow-up of overdue orders. Okay, that's for our ordering section. This is just a slight overview first before we actually go into the nitty-gritty of them all. Receipt then, goods received, not ordered. So all goods received, agree to order notes before accepted. Okay, so it's important to keep your order notes all the time. Goods received, stolen or damaged. Secure storage. Okay, so you receive your goods, but they're actually stolen somewhere along the way. Goods received of wrong quality and quantity. Agree to an order form. Invoicing then, we're looking at liability not recognised. Regular review and follow up on goods received. Okay, GRNs there, unmatched to invoice. Goods received notes or GRNs. Liability recognised for goods not received. Okay, so liability only recognised if supported by a goods received note. And obviously the goods received note should be signed by someone who's actually approved to sign them. Just because you've got a goods received note, doesn't mean it's not signed at the bottom, doesn't actually mean you actually received the goods. Liability recorded incorrectly. Okay, invoice recalculated and agreed to the goods received note. Like in the shop now, would you have someone who'd actually be, or can anyone sign for the goods?
No, it has to be one of the main people.
Yeah. So like that's a control. Like think about auditing, that's a control you've got in place over the items actually coming in. There's just no one, I mean, there's not anyone can actually sign for them. So you think about your auditing, just
divorce.
but if you can bring it back to, a real life example, and the same thing, if you can bring it back to, something in yours, and that's what helps with the auditing, bring it back to real life situations.
Yeah, because there's a GRN book that they have to write in everything to match basically the delivery document.
Oh yeah. And then you'd have the good receipt note and delivery document, and you'd have the invoice, and you'd have to check them through for price and for quantity and all that, wouldn't you? So that's auditing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure. That's internal audit now, but you just don't see it as that. When you're actually doing it.
System that you're actually invoicing against as well.
Yeah, so that's your internal controls in place then. So if you start thinking like that, it'll help with this. Yeah. Okay, then we've got payment. So pay for goods not received. So our control will be only make payment if supported by order, invoice and goods received note. Duplicate payments. So we're going to stamp invoices paid, only pay on site of original invoice. Okay, because you can often get, invoices can be sent out a couple of different times if they're not being paid. Payments not recorded. So you've got your bank reconciliation. When someone will come back to you and they'll say, oh, I never got that check. You can go to your bank rec and you can see if that check actually still outstanding, and you actually know if it's gone through or not. Okay, so that's the basic look over the 4 different sections in it. So you've got your ordering, the receipt of your goods, the invoicing, and then the actual payment of the goods. So that's a good thing to actually look at those little charts first. And then behind that then I actually have, a more detailed. So I might read through a page or 2 of these just to get familiar with them. Okay, so requisitions from user departments. So the person or department authorised to requisition goods does so by completing the details on a serially pre-numbered requisition slip. Okay, that's the important thing. It should be a serially pre-numbered requisition slip. The pre-numbering will ensure at a later stage that all requisitions have been accounted for serially, have been authorised and have been made out on authorised stationery. The sequence check on the requisitions will be carried out manually or by computer. A number of copies of the requisition are produced and circulated as follows. Okay, so a copy is kept by the requisitioner to act as a reminder that the requisition is pending. A copy is sent to the buying or central purchasing department so an order can be placed. And a copy may be sent to the accounts department for information and for attachment to the purchase invoice submitted by the supplier. Okay, so that's our requisition first. We've got our purchase orders. So the buying or central purchasing department will receive the requisition note whether it is properly authorised, a note whether it is properly authorised and within the limits of the requisitioner's authority. Order form, like requisitions, will be serial numbered for control purposes and a sequence check will be carried out. Okay, so the serially numbered is the big thing on all these in the sales system and in the purchase system. The order will state the supplier's name, quantity and description of the goods ordered, date of expected delivery, price and discounts and other special conditions. Orders can be raised manually or generated by the computer where a computerized system is used. And the majority of places now are going to be using a computerized system, aren't they? It's very few you have, well I suppose you have the daily, maybe from the shop point you've got the daily breadmen who are probably coming in with their little
they do have their system though.
Oh, they're actually changing over to the little handheld.
They still print you out an actual docket to say what's delivered. I think that's the invoice. No, that's the
usually the bright guys and the mid guys, it could be the invoice.
But
maybe the bigger ones, maybe things a month will actually maybe issue. But the small local bakeries will actually just have the little one.
They all have them, not really.
Yeah. I just see them coming from work for shops or will be putting into the computer. That there is very few there.
There is a few where it's still like Doreen's Bakery and stuff which are still on the books.
Oh yeah, because they're small, little. They're small. But they're like very small. Oh yeah. And say like the veg guys, some of the veg guys still have little dockets.
We all of ours is central billing now for any of those guys.
Oh, because you're so you get the one bill. Yeah. it's taking a lot of the work out of.
It's better.
Yeah, instead of having like loads of invoices to actually put in.
But like I do the invoices now, so it takes me about 3 hours to do the non-central billing invoices and half an hour to do the central billing ones. So ideally, if everyone was on central billing, it would still take a half an hour.
Yeah.
Well, that would still only take half an hour, but
You can't have
better
it.
prices.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. Okay, so the copies of the order then can be circulated as follows. To inform the Commission that the order has been placed and of the expected date of delivery. In the manual system, a copy is placed on the order pending file of the buying department to remind them of orders outstanding. At the end of the financial year, it will be necessary to determine that capital items have been ordered, although not delivered, for purposes of a note to that effect on the balance sheet. If a computerized system is used, this information will be generated in the form of a management report. To the supplier to order the goods, to the store section to let them know to expect a delivery, and to the accounts department to match against the purchase invoice when received. Many computerized systems have facilities to print out a daily report of items which have reached their recorder levels. These items to be ordered can be input in official orders produced by the computer. But now probably nearly all the system will be integrated, so the guy over in the stores will be able to see the invoice straight away. Whereas before, if it was all manually, you'd be giving out all these order forms, but they don't it's probably all through email now. They probably send over the order and tell the warehouse guy this is due in. Okay, delivery of goods then. On receipt of goods, the storekeeper must check them to ensure that the quantity and apparent quality are correct. A serial number goods received note is then raised. Any short deliveries or poor condition of goods should be recorded on the goods received note. Okay, so a goods received note must be circulated as follows. To the requisitioner to inform when the requisition has been satisfied by delivery of goods. To the buying department to inform when the order has been satisfied by delivery of goods. And the order outstanding file is amended. To the accounts department to match with the purchase order and the purchase invoice. Stock records are also updated from details on the goods received notes. And it's probably done, do you know what I mean? But it can be done like automatically now through your computer system. Yeah, it's automatically goes through. Yeah. Which makes life easier.
Yeah,
all
it just shows
over.
in their system automatically, they know what has to be picked.
What has to be, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, then our purchase invoice. The purchase invoice will be received from the supplier by the accounts department. No payment must be made against the purchase invoice unless goods have been satisfactorily received, as evidenced by a check against the purchase order and goods received note. In the computerized system, details of incoming invoices are input, and the computer will check against recorded details of the order and receipt of goods. When checks have been completed, the purchase invoice is passed for payment and must be authorised by the authorised signatory. Okay, so we've got the authorised signatory. And with stamp may be attached to the invoice showing the following details. So before they've actually stamped them, and you have to tick each little box it was after. So you have the authorised signatures ticked, the requisition order received note numbers, supplier's reference number and account number, whether it's a capital or revenue item, evidence that appropriate checks have been made on the invoice, which is correct prices used, discounts calculated correctly from recognised supplier and made out to the organisation. That's our purchase invoice. And it's normal when you do on a day-to-day basis. Payments. In the manual system, checks will be made out, or bank driver credit transfer slips raised. Before signature of a check to a supplier, the authorised signature must ensure that the correct paperwork has been produced to support the payment. In the computerized system, the computer program will set invoices due for payment and will print out checks or create payment instructions on a magnetic tape, okay, for submission to the organisation's bank. It'll take this book is a little bit old. Instructions on magnetic tape. Most people now are actually paying everything online, aren't they? Everything will be going through online. I think most people are looking for that, aren't they? Because it's actually, at least the payment has gone through straight away. And you haven't got the cost of the check.
50 cents plus 68 stamp.
Yeah, for posting it, yeah. And it's 50 cents for the check itself. And then you've got a charge, 20 cent to 30 cent for every transaction that goes through the bank every month, as well, every transaction that goes through as well. So you're charged to actually get the checkbook, and then you're charged to actually write the check as well. Same as cash. Do you mean you're charged to put your wages into the bank, and you're charged to actually get your wages out of the bank? Okay, care must be taken to the full advantage taken of cash discounts allowed by making payments within the specified time scales. Entries in the accounting records then, payments made against purchase invoices must be recorded in the purchase daybook and the creditor's accounts in the purchase ledger. In a computerized system, entries in ledger accounts will be generated automatically from purchase invoice details. Purchase returns must be recorded in the purchase returns journal and the creditor's account. That's just an overview of what different places we'll be looking at for our purchases. So we're looking at our ordering, receiving our goods, our payment of the goods, our ordering of goods, our receiving the goods, our invoice for the goods, and then the actual payment of the goods at the end, and how we're going to order all them now down through it. So the next part goes through the purchase system and the little series of internal controls that will actually be there. Okay, so the following features should exist in a well-controlled purchase system. Okay, so purchases. There should be a list of suppliers from which goods or services should be obtained. This list should be reviewed regularly by management and signed as evidence of review. Where tendering is necessary, proper procedures must be established and followed to ensure that the correct supplier is selected. Okay, and the purpose of this is to ensure quality and quantity of goods and service purchases for use in manufacturing, to avail discounts and loyalty schemes. Our next one, suppliers should be advised not to accept orders from the company without an authorised purchase order, and this is to ensure validity of purchases, to control expenditure in line with the achievement of budgets, forecast, business objectives. Okay, purchase requisitions should be sequentially pre-numbered, and if you're ever asked about a purchase system or a sales system, that's the one you'd always print about, sequentially pre-numbered. To facilitate tracking of orders, purchase order forms should be sequentially pre-numbered to facilitate tracking of purchases. Here there should be authorization levels for purchase requisitions and our purchase order forms to ensure validity of purchases, to control expenditure in line with the achievement of budgets, forecasts and business objectives. Items of capital expenditure may need special authorization, would be maybe a board of directors, okay, and you must have documented in the board minutes to ensure appropriateness of capital commitments, to control expenditure in line with the achievement of budget, forecasts, business objectives. Origin of goods, a responsible person should check the quantity, quality and condition of them. There should be evidence of this examination, which should be a signature. Any short deliveries or poor condition of goods should be recorded on the goods received note and followed up by an appropriate person. And then this would be to authenticate receipt of goods. This would be used as the basis for invoicing by the supplier. Invoices should be matched to goods received notes. Okay, that's always. Invoices should always match to goods received notes and authorised orders and requisitions. Details on each document should correspond. And that's to ensure no unauthorised purchases, to ensure that the goods are received for all orders. Then any difference in pricing between the invoice and purchase order should be referred to the original author for reauthorization. It may be appropriate to set a threshold above which any differences should be reauthorized. To ensure your accuracy of pricing, to control expenditure in line with the achievement of budget, forecast, business objectives. And then invoices should be marked as evidence of approval for payment, and this is to ensure that invoices is not paid twice. So you're always going to have, you're looking at your internal controls, okay, you're looking at the internal control, and you must have the purpose of your internal control. So if you're asked, in an exam question, you have to show what is the internal control and what's the purpose of the internal control. As we go through the exam papers, it'll make more sense as well. So returns then, controls should be established for returns, credit and adjustments. A responsible official should deal with these. And this is to ensure returns and credits are real and are not facilitating misappropriations, and to ensure authenticity of adjustments. Purchase cut-off procedures to be established. For example, at year-end, records of goods received but not invoiced should be collated, and this is to ensure liabilities for goods received are brought into the accounts for the period. Other than staff purchases under special terms need special controls. Okay, so staff purchase under special terms need special controls to ensure staff purchase are not excessive or irregular. So like, some companies offer, staff discounts, do you know what I mean? And it's actually being done the same for every employee. A reconciliation of the creditor's ledger to the creditor's control account should be prepared on a regular basis. Any adjustments to the sales ledger should be documented and approved, which would be unusual write-offs. Select a sample of reconciliation performed during the year, review documentation of adjustments for appropriateness, and obtain evidence of review. Creditor reconciliation should be prepared on a regular basis. Let's say that one, no? This involves reconciling individual creditor statements to the creditor's ledger balance. Reconciliation should be reviewed by someone dependent on the preparation process, and there should be evidence of review. And with the computerized system now, that's all done automatically, or creditors. Ensure completeness and accuracy of purchase and creditors. Facilitates detection of errors and misappropriation. Separate people should be responsible for checking suppliers' invoices, recording purchases and returns, maintain the purchase ledger, checking supplier statements, authorising payment. Great separation duties is needed in the manual system. Mitigates risk of errors, misappropriation, facilitates detection of errors, misappropriation. And it's great saying that when you're dealing with a big company with a lot of employees. If you've got a small company with a couple of employees, you're not going to be able to segregate out all the duties there. But we're thinking about big, large companies, we're dealing with the auditing here. Okay, I'm not going to go through the ICQs and the ICEQs. I'm going to have to go through how we actually do that first before we actually start reading down through them. So what I'm going to do is just look at the wages one now next, but not actually read through the book, and read through the book the next night we come back. So you should have the wages one as well, the wages payroll cycle. But I just want to get all this covered and then start doing the exam questions. I mean, we need to get this part covered before we can do these exam papers. We're nearly there, we're only a couple of more bits and pieces to bring it together. Okay, so our wages cycle. We record the work done, recognise the payroll liability, and we've got the payment. Okay, so what can go wrong, and what are the risks, what are the objectives, and how can it be prevented, and what are the controls? Okay, so our first one, record the work done. Okay, so our risks. Okay, our risk is fair to record all the work done. Okay, and what we're going to do? We're going to have a sequence check on pre-numbered timesheets. Okay, so a sequence check on pre-numbered timesheets.
What's the sequence check?
Say like our sequence, that all the time sheets are actually going in order. That's all. But see, this is kind of probably dealing more with a manual system, whereas now people have this swipe clock in.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean? People actually coming in and out. Would you have a work? No, would you ever work?
They're just clock cards.
Clock cards, yeah.
So they're just in every week,
Yeah, and just clock in and out.
Yeah.
So they just don't have the swipe ones.
Yeah.
But they're probably the bigger places now.
Yeah.
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 Oh, do you have clocking cards? Or just
No, we just have
military?
paper rotas and they're changed then. So it's two. Like I suppose internal control would be, there's one in the canteen. We change that, and then if it needs to be changed in the office, you need to kind of ask whoever's on duty, like. So
Oh yeah.
kind of why did you have to go home earlier, or why?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's.
And you probably the sequence check-in is you've got week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4.
Yeah.
I mean, depending on what way do you do your year from January to December, or for the accounting year. Do you know what I mean? Some people have accounting year, some people do based on their calendar year.
They do the 1 to 52. with the
Yeah.
calendar,
Yeah, calendar year. Most people go with the calendar year one.
Yeah. With them, well, they just have clock cards out for say production staff and warehouse staff, like we don't have to. But yeah, just the manager's going to be up every week, and you have to. Yeah, it's just January to December as well.
Yeah. I think most people are going for January to December, but some people before used to actually use them, their year end was March, they go from April to March. But it just makes it awkward then for doing your payroll at the end of the year, so that's just easier to do January to December. Okay, so that's our next one, work recorded, not actually done. Okay. So what are our controls? Authorization of hours by the supervisor and a clocking in system.
So somebody doesn't have somebody else clocking in for them.
Yeah, it's like you ring someone, I'm running late, you tap me in there. But we wouldn't have done that now before. Because no one was in the bakery, we had a clocking in system. We had to clock out for your breaks as well. So
And what about cigarette breaks?
we wouldn't go for them now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even official cigarette breaks.
Amazon used to have, you'd have personal time on your computer, so you'd actually have to log yourself in. If you weren't sitting at your computer, you'd have to be in either personal time, which is toilet, or break, or gone home.
Jeez.
Yeah, they were really strict.
Yeah, it's very strict.
So you have your card to clock in to see you into the building. That means you're safe, so long as you don't have to be sitting at your desk by a certain time.
Jeez. I said, in months of January, and if you're 5 minutes clocking in late with them, they dock you part of an hour.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, they're
A
very
lot of places do that now, right? Though.
if you're 5 minutes
It
late.
should be the same. This is years ago now.
Yeah.
They dock you. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm desperate for, I'm running late in the mornings. I mean, granted lunchtime and, feel like I usually turn 20 minutes late finishing the evening, then, but you don't see that, you're trying to,
No.
yeah.
That's
If I can go for an
That
hour and a
doesn't
half doing work before I get to work, do you know what I mean? And, but sure, we'll be alright. Okay, recognise the payroll liability then. Wrong rate of pay used is our first one. Yeah. Wrong rate of pay used, okay? So the authorisation of pay rates and changes by the personnel department. Okay, that's generally a lot easier now with everyone's using a computerised system. There's very little people using a manual system now. So you have everyone's time sheet up and you have all the information elements are there and whether they're entitled to double time or time and a half or whatever they're entitled to. Well, the big thing is this is bank holidays. Do you know what I mean? Who is entitled to bank holidays? What is the rate of bank holidays? Am I entitled to double time or am I entitled to triple time? Like, we people know that are going working New Year's Day and they want to know they're starting at 9 o'clock New Year's night and they only qualify for bank holiday from 9 o'clock that night until 12 o'clock and then you went to the 2nd of January. Is that because they're doing a 9 hour or 12-hour shift?
And is that the law, is it?
I must actually get it confirmed just to make sure. I think it is. It's only based it's like between 12 midnight and 12 midnight. Like, but
On New Year's Day. What about Christmas Day?
Christmas Day will be the same, no?
Because I worked, when I was on Christmas Day and we got triple pay.
Triple pay.
The only reason I worked it.
Yeah.
But like, it was...
But it's not compulsory, triple
Is
pay.
it not?
No, it's like at the discretion of the employer. You have to get paid, say, for working the day, obviously, and then another day's pay or a day in lieu. Okay,
So they
it's
don't
like
have to
double
give you
time.
any extra money.
They don't have
just
to
give you a day in lieu.
A day in lieu, yeah.
Like the bank holiday.
Like the bank holiday, yeah. Because I'm looking up now for people for work. There's a big thing now, trying to get the holidays and everything started out before the end of the year. But the bank holidays at the moment are a big issue. Getting the right, do you mean, because you don't want to, getting the right way to pay for everybody, like, do you know what I mean? It's hard enough working Christmas Day, St. Stephen's Day and New Year's Day. But what's the name for paying triple time, do you reckon? I wouldn't mind for paying triple time. Yeah, you can have dinner that following day. It's fair out. Okay, incorrect deductions calculated. So manual check reconciliation of previous period, authorization of rate changes on system. Okay, manual check reconciliation of previous period. Okay, that's grand if you're getting paid the same amount of money every week, but if people are on shift and they're changing, do you know what I mean? That's when it becomes hard to get your controls in place properly over that. You need to watch all the different shift rates and, do you know what I mean, when they're coming in and if someone is off then and someone's replacing them and, you know, wages can be, like, getting the controls over the wage system is probably one of the harder ones to actually do. But sales and purchase to be grand, because like, it's a set way you actually do it. Whereas it depends on how many employees, like, and it changes so often, yeah. Okay, then we have payment. So pay ghost incorrect employees. Okay, check signing independent of payroll, sequence check of unique code with their tax number. Okay, so like most people now are actually paying through the bank as well, aren't they? The direct debit is going straight through automatically. But we actually have a lot of shops who actually are paying cash instead of paying for the cash to go into the bank and then for the bank to pay out the wages. So they're being charged for that. They're just paying the staff the cash, you know, instead. Which actually makes another headache because you have to watch all the cash then on the other side of it. Yeah. But they're very good. They've like set up a cash book and they're showing their ins, their outs, and they have their showing exactly who's been paid by cash, and everyone's happy so far anyway. So cash payment loss, identification check, security of cash, unclaimed wage controls. Okay, unclaimed wage, I doubt it's going to be much of unclaimed wages control. It's more overclaimed wage control to have to be looking at really. Okay, and they're just the checks you'd actually look at.
Do you know if an employer pays you too much wages? Or what would you say? Let's say they paid too many holidays, they paid you the wrong rate. And then the following year they realise, oh no, you weren't entitled to whatever.
That's
I don't even know how it would work in real.
That's their error.
That's their, so
Yeah.
they can't really take it back.
No. It's like
It's
a situation where an employer should have been, the employee should have been paid, you have a manual system, right? And the employee should have been paying PRSI. They were over, they were onto the AAL, the A1 PRSI class, and the employer never copped it. So he was paying them too much gross pay for about 10 weeks, and they never copped it. And someone, I don't know, someone knew came in or something, I don't know, copped it. They should have been on a different rate of pay, and it was the employer was wrong. He's responsible for doing deductions, so he couldn't go back to the staff member and ask them for all the money back.
Yeah.
He actually had to take the hit. Where I thought would be, you know what I mean, the other way, that the employee would have to pay back the money because they should have been paying PRSI. But it's, see, the employee is responsible for their tax credits and cut-off points, for getting them right. Okay, that's their responsible. But the employer is responsible for putting through the correct deductions. So if he makes a mistake, he has to take the hit.
It's all automatic now, so like even Sage would pick it up when it would change for the different PRSI rates.
It does change at different PRSI rates, yeah. But this person was actually on a manual system, yeah, and they ever used a computerized system.
There's a guy working now, a friend of his was working most days, but they were actually paying him a higher rate, say the next rate up than what he was on, but they took it back off him when they discovered that deducted so much a week off him. No, it wasn't to do with saying these tax deductions and that, it was just the actual rate.
They discovered that they are. It's actually the PAYE, PRSI and USC. If they calculate that wrong, they have to take the hit for that. Yeah, but I think it's a bit unfair, really, because do you know what I mean? From a business point of view, yeah. Like if I could do it for a whole year, and say someone owed €20 just only owing PRSI, that's €1,000.
Yeah.
You've to take the hit for. You've paid €1,000. You've paid €1,000 to the employee, and you've paid €1,000 worth of revenue in PRSI. So this
That's
is
why
really
you're
hard
good
part.
accountants like you, Catherine.
Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone does. Okay, so I leave it there for tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll look at going through this then the next night again, and try and get our ICQs and stuff started, and just go back over materiality. Just try to do a little flow chart thing and notes on materialities, and just reading out all of it again.